For decades, the world believed one princess might have survived, but the truth of what happened to the last Russian royals is far darker than any legend. This is the real story of the Russian royal family. The Romanovs came to power after Michael Romanov elected Tsar in 1613. The dynasty included famous figures like Peter the Great and Catherine the Great. Nicholas II was final emperor whose reign ended with his abdication during the revolution. Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra, their 5 children and others were executed by Bolsheviks in Yekaterinburg in July 1918. Nicholas II, or Nikolai Alexandrovich Romanov, was the eldest son of Emperor Alexander III and Empress Maria Feodorovna. Nicholas was of primarily German and Danish descent and was related to several monarchs in Europe. Nicholas and his wife Alexandra and Wilhelm II, the German emperor, were all first cousins of King George V of the United Kingdom. Nicholas was Emperor of Russia, King of Congress Poland, and Grand Duke of Finland from 1st November 1894 until his abdication in 1917. I don't want to burden you unnecessarily with numbers and the entire Romanov family tree because it's very complicated and extensive, and I think you would be more confused and important things wouldn't get stuck in your head. So I'm cutting it down a lot, but still I'm trying to convey the most important part of the story. In 1894, Nicholas proposed to Alex. She was the Princess of Hesse and by Rhine, later taking the name Alexandra Feodorovna. Later that year, their wedding took place at the Winter Palace in St. Petersburg. Nicholas and Alexandra had 5 children: Olga, Tatiana, Maria, Anastasia, and their only son Alexei, heir to the throne. 2 years later, after their wedding, Nicholas's formal coronation as Tsar was held in Uspensky Cathedral, located within the Kremlin. The event was of gigantic proportion, and people from all over Russia arrived to witness the coronation of the new emperor. Nicholas was a weak emperor. He had very little experience of governing. During the 10-year reign, much happened: wars, revolution, strikes. People were not happy. He also survived several assassination attempts. The losses from World War I and the fall of the economy, the workers going on strike, and the political agitation and rioting eventually led to the outbreak of the February Revolution in St. Petersburg. Nicholas II chose to abdicate in March 1917. After the abdication of Nicholas II, the Russian provisional government protected the family and decreed that they should be held under house arrest in the Alexander Palace at Tsarskoye Selo. In the summer, the government feared that further disturbance in the city could easily reach Tsarskoye Selo, and it was decided to move the family to a safer location, the town of Tobolsk in western Siberia. There they lived in the former governor mansion in considerable comfort. The family were even allowed to walk to church on Sundays. Later the family was moved again to Omsk. They were imprisoned in the 2-story Ipatiev house, which ominously became referred to as the house of a special purpose. Here the Romanovs were kept under even stricter conditions. They were only allowed to speak Russians, their cameras were confiscated, their belongings were inspected and taken to locked storage, and their retinue was further reduced. The windows were painted shut, visitors outside were limited, and the house was surrounded with tall fence. The family was not allowed to go to church or receive guests, and also forbidden from reading newspaper or writing letters. Food portions were limited. In July 1918, the Bolsheviks decided to remove the Romanov family, primarily to prevent them from being rescued by the White Army or the Czechoslovak Legion during the Russian Civil War. Most historians believe the decision was made by Vladimir Lenin. The execution was carried out by a squad of Czech secret police and Bolshevik guards, Yakov Yurovsky, Ermanok, and Medvedev. Yurovsky came up with a plan. He would wake them up in the middle of the night, tell them there was a fighting in the streets and an emergency. He would tell them for their own safety they have to be moved to the basement. And that's what happened. Woke them up at 2 a.m., telling them there is an emergency and to dress quickly. There was no panic. They believed they were about to be evacuated from the city. Later, they followed Yurovsky, who led them to the basement. And later, Yurovsky and his squad of armed men carried out the execution. I don't want to go into much detail here because it was a brutal and heinous act. But from the picture, it is hard for everyone to imagine what happened there. No one survived. They were buried in the middle of a muddy road in two separate graves. It could have been a secret that would never be revealed. But these three men were proud of what they had done. They wanted to be heroes. It was precisely pride that did not allow them to remain silent about that night. And thanks to that, today we know what really happened. 2 years after the event, Yurovsky left written evidence and even drew a map. He gave precise navigational direction to the graves. Ermakov, he craved glory and upset that Yurovsky stolen his spotlight. He took it to the stage and became a local celebrity. He would give public lectures at factories and party clubs about the night event. And the third man, Medvedev, in his 70s, left behind an audio chronicle from a nightmare. All evidence was later found. Bolshevik government officially admitted only to the execution of Tsar Nicholas II. They explicitly lied about the rest of the family, stating that they had been moved to a safe location. And this brings us to the story of Anna Anderson, who come on the scene 2 years later after the massacre. She was claiming she is Anastasia, the daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, the only survivor. She said that she had been carried from the execution site by a mysterious soldier. But most of the surviving Romanov relatives dismissed her as a fraud. She died in 1984, but 2007 DNA testing revealed that she was not Anastasia. When I was going through the material for this video, I found out her story would be for a separate video. So if you are interested, let me know in the comments down below. The discovery of the Romanov family remains happened in two distinct stages, several decades after their execution in 1918. The primary burial site was discovered in May 1979 by a local geologist Alexander Avdonin and a filmmaker Gely Ryabov, precisely because the perpetrators left behind evidence that they discovered in the archive. They found the mass grave in the Koptyaki forest near Yekaterinburg. Because of the strict political climate of the Soviet Union at the time, the discovery was kept secret for over a decade. It wasn't until the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991 that the site was officially exhumed. This grave contained 9 bodies: Tsar Nicholas II, Tsarina Alexandra, and 3 of their daughters, and 4 of their servants. 2 bodies were notably missing from the site: Tsar's sons Alexei and one of the daughters, originally thought to be Maria or Anastasia. The remains of the 2 missing children were finally discovered in July 2007. Amateur archaeologists found a second, much smaller grave about 70 meters, approximately 230 feet away from the first site. The identification in 2008 DNA testing confirmed these remains belonged to Tsarevich Alexei and Grand Duchess Maria. This discovery effectively closed the decades-long mystery and debunked myth that any of the family members survived, such as Anastasia. The crows fell, but the story remains. Please hit the like button to help the algorithm. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Ciao ciao!